Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and we had that in the work session. Are we going to do it again?
Began at 7:03.
Good evening. My name is Megan Masson-Minnock. I'm with Carlisle Wortman Associates. We're consultants to the township, and I have the pleasure of working with the board, the Planning Commission, the Parks Commission, and your staff and the public, and working on Ypsilanti Township 2040, which is a community-driven process to have a vision for what the township should be 5, 10 years, 20 years from now, and update all of your plans and policies and ordinances that go along with that. One of those things is the Parks and Recreation Plan, which has been ongoing since May. I'm going to turn the majority of the presentation over to my colleague, Chris Nordstrom, but just wanted to state at the outset that the plan is a living document that is intended to be updated and a guide for what the township intends to do with Parks and Recreation, but also it qualifies the township for applying for grants from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, which accesses grants not only at the state level, but the federal level. So I'm going to introduce Chris Nordstrom, who's worked very diligently with your Parks Commission to bring you the draft that he's presenting tonight.
Good evening. Can you go to the first slide for me, please? Oops, the next slide maybe. So Megan already touched on this a little bit, but the reasons that we're doing this is, number one, to provide some kind of guidance for the township as you go forward over the next 5 years and you try to address what you want to do and what you need to do with your parks and recreation facilities. On a practical level, this park plan will make you eligible for grant funding through the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and there are 3 primary grants that would be available to you. The first is the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, which is funded by oil money that was taken from development up in the UP. It makes you eligible up to $300,000 for development projects, or an unlimited amount for acquisition projects. And both of those, you would have a 25% match required. The second one is Recreation Passport, which is anybody who's got a Michigan driver's license knows when you fill out the application for your license, there's a checkbox that you can mark that says money would be going towards parks in the state. Those funds are made available to communities across the state. This past year, they made about $1.6 million available in grants. The total amount available to you would be $150,000. Again, with a 25% match required. And the last one is the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is actually a federal fund. There is some question as to whether or not that fund is going to be put in place this year due to the circumstances with the federal government. If it is put in play again this year, here you have an opportunity for $300,000, but they do require a 50% match. So I think there was a slide on I'll briefly run over the timeline. The important thing to know is that we've been working on this since May 23. There's been a number of different meetings and a number of opportunities for the public to comment. An online survey was made available from June 15 to October 21. There was a second survey that was part of the overall master plan project that was available from September to October. We had an open house here at the Civic Center on September 10. And then I had various meetings with the steering committee that helped develop this plan. We had, from October 16 and 19, the overall master plan design workshop took place, and I did meet with a number of constituents at that point. And then ultimately, the plan has been available for public review since November 29. It's been available online through the township's website, and we've had hard copies available at the Civic Center, at the Community Center, and at the district library. So tonight right now we're having a public hearing to gather the final pieces of information from the public. We had a discussion earlier tonight, and the actual plan adoption will take place later on this month before our February 1 deadline for submittal. And once that plan is submitted, the township is, as I said, eligible for grants, and the grant application deadline every year is April 1. Okay. The big picture that we took from all of this is that residents are generally happy with the parks. You have 28 properties with over 970 acres. 75% of the participants in the online survey indicated that they're happy with the parks that you have, and 69% stated that the township has about the right number of parks. The Cobalt survey, which is part of the overall master plan, did a little bit differently, and they had two primary questions. The first was, what do you think of the quality of recreation programs in Ypsilanti Township? And the second was, what do you think of the variety of recreation programs? And you scored out of 10, 6.8 and 6.6, which is pretty close what we were seeing percentage-wise with the SurveyMonkey online survey. You can go to the next page. All of that being said, there is a discrepancy between the top parks and the bottom parks, and people let us know about that. Ford Heritage was by far the most popular park, or the most liked park in the township. There's some question as to whether Huron River Park actually was supposed to score that high, but we don't know. Still, people were talking about that one quite a bit. But the bottom four facilities are all small micro parks or mini parks, and they definitely need some help. And people let us know that one of the main concerns was maintenance, and actually that's a good point. Go to the next slide. By far, the most important value that we gathered from anybody was we need to maintain our existing parks. 98% said it was important or very important. Protecting natural resources was also very high at 91%. And the third item was access to paths and trails, and this is not surprising. That's the most commonly requested item on every recreation plan I've worked on, and you're seeing that across the country in various surveys as well, that people want access to paths and trails. That also goes along with the most requested amenities that we saw on that survey. People wanted to see multi-use walking trails and rustic walking paths, which are more like crushed limestone. It's important to remember that we need to be ADA compliant, so that's where the crushed limestone comes in, because that's still compliant. There was a fairly large call for improved restrooms or new restroom facilities at some of the other parks that don't currently have them. And then fitness and exercise trails and a nature center were quite a bit further down, but they're still separated a little bit from the other amenities that were requested. We talked a little bit about programming, and there wasn't a lot of input on that. I think that there's some concern that people just really aren't aware of the programs that are out there, or the programs are held at a time that they aren't able to access them, so they can't really comment about the quality or the variety that's out there. So that's, I think, a weakness that the township needs to address, is really making sure that everybody knows what's out there and making sure that you have it at times where people can utilize them. Jumping back onto the non-motorized transportation component of this, 83% of residents indicated that they walk, hike, or run, and 66% are regular bicyclists. 82% indicated that they want to see the trail system expanded. The non-motorized component also looked a little bit at kayaking and canoeing, and it was interesting to me that only 36% of the residents said that they kayak or canoe on any kind of regular basis. And it does beg the question, is it because they don't want to, or is it because there is a lack of access? And that's something that unfortunately we weren't really able to glean from the raw data. We are currently working on a non-motorized transportation plan right now, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more information on that as that plan goes forward. There were a few big ticket items that came up. Dog park was very popular, and that's an item that's popular across the state. Everybody likes to see them, and it's always a challenge of where do you put them. When we talked to the Park Commission last week, one of the things that they brought up was that we should hold, if we are going to put in dog parks, it should be at a community park where there's adequate parking, so you're not overwhelming a neighborhood park with people with their dogs. Splash parks were another item that's very, very popular, and again, this is very common across Southeast Michigan. It is a big ticket item, though. They can run anywhere from $200,000 and up. And so here you've got a similar situation to the dog park where it's a question of where do you place that. People did not want to have a splash pad similar to Rolling Hills, but more like something where they have in Canton, where it's a little bit smaller scale, where people can go and their kids can run around for free. There was a big call for a new community center and gym. People liked the existing community center, but they felt that it was too small and didn't have the facilities in it that people needed. So, hopefully there's some discussions going on about, I understand there are some discussions going on about potentially getting a new community center, and if that were to take place, that would be something where grant funding would be very useful, and partnering with some other recreation providers would really make that work. And the last item that I'm going to leave you with tonight is that there was a question about a millage. We asked people, would you support a millage that would fund recreation development, acquisition of new properties, and continued maintenance of existing properties? And roughly 93% said they would support it at some level. If you look at the breakdown up there, you can see that the majority of those respondents said they would support up to 0.25 mil, although there was still almost 31% saying they would support up to 1 mil. And that's something that the challenge with the survey that we had is that it was not statistically significant in the true sense of the word. However, we do feel that it reflects the opinions of people based on the conversations we had across multiple platforms. And so this may be something that you want to take into consideration and delve into a little bit further over the next 5 years. And at this point, I'd like to open the floor to anybody who has any comments or questions. I'm sorry, this is just a presentation. I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. And then we're going to have a public hearing in which people can make comment. The next item on the agenda is we're going to open up the public hearing for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and the time is 7:16. Are there any questions or comments on the recreation plan from the public? The Township Board discussed it at length, hour and 45 minutes maybe, and the work session. So we had a great discussion and a lot of good information. Our Parks and Recreation, our Parks Commission recommended approval of the plan as well. There's 2 members here I see in the audience. So if people have any comments for the public hearing, this is the time to make the comment. We're going to do the resolution at a special meeting to formally adopt it, but any public comment?
My name is Arloa Kaiser. I live at 1421 Melvin Street. One thing with the statistics up here, if I got the number correctly, it was like a little over 100 people that sent in answers to these surveys. So to me, that's not a representation of our township, because if I'm correct, isn't there like 57,000
57,000, yeah.
in the community?
So there's like 500 people of the survey, is that correct? And 100 of them were SurveyMonkey?
So we had 113 that came in on the SurveyMonkey survey, and then we had another 500 people that were part of a statistically significant survey on the Cobalt survey. The 113 residents that responded is typical for what we would see on a recreation plan. I've worked with communities all over Southeast Michigan, and that's about the level that we would expect to see.
We had over 500.
We had 500 in the Cobalt survey. We had 113
From the
in the
survey.
other one. So, yes, combined with the open houses and other forms of input, I feel confident that what we're seeing in the survey reflects generally the values of the community.
All right.
Madam Chair, just a quick question.
Wait.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. You said, thanks, Chris. You said it was over 500 on the Cobart survey, and that survey, and that one specifically dealt with some, I guess you could say, what residents would like to see as changes or amenities to parks?
The Cobalt survey was, that was the one that was dealing with the entire master plan. So
Entire
it's the
master
2040
plan.
So the comprehensive master plan. And the questions that were on there were asking about the quality of the parks and the variety. And that was all that was included on that because, again, the focus was on it was a much broader focus than the recreation plan.
Okay.
Recreation survey on SurveyMonkey got much more into specifics. So we got a little bit more information, and there were open-ended questions on there as well, so people could respond and let us know, this is what I'm thinking generally, as opposed to rate it 1 to 10, and that was the only answer. So it's kind of they were two different animals, but combined, they give you a general picture of where we are.
Right, but the quality of parks also go on usability for the residents, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that would make the Cobart survey also a valid survey, just as well as the SurveyMonkey survey?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I just wanted to, just clarify that. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Are there any public comments?
Hi, Cassandra Barrett, 9749 Textile Road, and I just wanted to say I agree with Heather. I live 2 houses from a park. Every time I go there, the gates are shut. What kind of, people want to eat their lunch there, they just want to relax, and then now they got them shut and locked on Textile between Bridge Road and South Huron River Drive. I would like to, if you're talking about all this stuff, open it up a little more for the residents.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your comment. All right. Any other comments? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:21. And now we'll go to public comments for the agenda. Does anyone have any public comments for the agenda? Or if it's not on the agenda, if you have concerns or questions or compliments, now is the time to do it.
My name is Arlo Kaiser, and I would like to say again at the meeting that I am against having a compensation committee. I believe that the board is elected by the people, and that the board should be able to make those decisions and deal with the good, bad, and ugly, not have a compensation committee. And there are other people in the organization, as Karen Lovejoy-Rowe said, that there's a lot of information that, like, her office can get off the internet. There are people that know how to do it. Human Resources knows what's going on. And just because somebody else does it doesn't mean that we have to. And I'm opposed to having another committee.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda, which are the minutes, statements, and checks, treasurer's reports for November and December.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion Doe, support Wilson to approve the consent agenda. Are there comments or questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is the attorney's report. Attorney Winters, do you have any general legal update?
Yes, I do. During the holidays and maybe shortly thereafter, it's always a good time for reflections in regards to where we have been, where we are today, and maybe where we're going to be in 2019. I know there's a lot of goals that people try to come up with at the beginning of each year, and I think it's a good thing. In regards to what I think our office has been dealing with, as reflected in some of the letters you've been receiving over the last 2 years and even during the last 30 days. It kind of breaks down into certain types of categories, and sometimes they overlap. But for lack of a better way of saying what I think the priorities and goals and challenges are going to be, in regards to, for example, personnel, the board's aware that during the last several years, last year specifically, we were able to negotiate new contracts for the two ASME unions as well as the Teamsters union, and now we're starting to embark upon the 2019 firefighter negotiation meetings. And as we go into those negotiations, and looking back at some of the things that came out of the AFSCME negotiations, I think that at least the HR manager, Wallen, and Supervisor Stumbo, myself, and other people have been discussing this. I think it would be a very wise thing for the board to have additional training for some of our employees in different categories and areas. I think training is always a very positive. One thing that came up during some of the ASME negotiations, I know that I think Karen Wallen is aware of the county has put on a, I want to say, these are my words, they may not be exactly what the program might look like, but issues pertaining to bullying, how to handle bullying in the workplace, recognize those type of issues, how to deal with those from a standpoint of management, et cetera. And so I think as you go through 2019, one of the priorities might be for your different labor groups to also try and see exactly how we can continue to help our workers, employees, and everybody to through additional training programs. That's just an example. There's many more out there. It's probably maybe more immediate and pertinent, but that's just by way of example. But that, I think, would be a very good goal to have in 2019. In addition, right now, that we are also continuing to try and figure out different ways the township can continue to increase revenue beyond just the traditional tax millage proposals. For example, in regards to the ACM, we haven't talked a lot about that in the last few months, but they continue to make their plan come to fruition. And by way of example, in 2017, the township was only receiving $18,000 a year in tax revenue because the plant had closed and the property, the GM factories had been demolished. With the advent and the development of the autonomous connected vehicle pilot payment agreement, in 2018, the township received $173,000, of which $54,000 was a one-time payment. But in 2019, this year, obviously, in the next few weeks, we are expecting to receive a payment nearly around $218,000. And I'm just trying to, and that becomes each year, it can't go below that amount, but it will continue to go up as investment is made. And that's a very good thing, considering that 3 years ago we were sitting here and the amount that we were receiving was $18,000. I know there's a lot of projects and a lot of needs of the township, and continuing to look for these non-tax revenue sources is obviously going to be a continued goal of all of us. In that regard, the township also has received its first payment of $80,000 and will continue to receive equal amounts for the next 9 years. This is an escrow account that the township was required to set up. During the last 25 years, we were selling electricity to Detroit Edison, and this is the first year now that we start receiving 10% of those proceeds, and next year we'll receive $80,000 because there'll be 9 years left in the agreement. In the following year, $80,000 because there'll be 8 years left. And so, as future board members, both here today and maybe new ones in the future, that again is going to be a steady stream of lease revenue for the next 10 years that will go towards the needs of the hydro station, be it personnel issues, be it investment into the infrastructure. We've also identified opportunities as you continue to go through the redevelopment of the township. You've received a number of letters about what I've referred to as Phase 2 of the River Grove condominiums on the corner of Bridge and Grove Road. You have actually River Grove Phase 1. Phase 2 is 75 undeveloped lots that were lost by the developer back when the housing implosion occurred. It was sold several times by the county treasurer at tax auctions, and then in 2015, the properties were quit claimed to the township during the last week of December. We're now at a point, after going through all the title work, where we have agreed through the title company that there's one individual that we will need to serve in an action to quiet title that will ensure that the township will receive a marketable title so as to allow this board to approve a request for proposals to complete Phase 2 of the River Grove development. And that's very important because those 75 lots, we believe, are going to be very, very marketable. The product in Phase 1 is very, very successful. It's in the, I believe, the Van Buren School District. At the same time, it continues to add to the township's very diverse and very healthy residential base. So we have River Grove Phase 2. In regards to Liberty Square, and I think this is one that many people have a very, very strong passion for because we spent many, many years, I see Lieutenant Morocco here, many, many years ago, the township spent a tremendous amount of dollars and resources in dealing with the problems that were going on in Liberty Square. Those townhomes were demolished by a court order, and the township now is within just 2 lots, very small lots, of having 100% ownership of Liberty, what we refer to as Liberty Square. That's a property, it's on Grove Road, it's also near Rossonville Road. And we think this is a property that can be redeveloped. We know this neighborhood in the past has strongly supported retail, grocery stores, any number of opportunities exist. And once we acquire those remaining 2 lots, I believe the township is in a position to actually control its destiny, because on some properties in the township, we don't have the ability to effectuate the outcome. I refer to Galt Village as one that we've been struggling with for a number of years in court. We don't own that property. In regards to Liberty Square, we will own this property, and so you will be able to actually craft or fashion a redevelopment that is in keeping with the needs of the neighborhood as well as the needs of the township in general. Currently, right now, we also have issues going on with the demolition of Kettering and Thurston School. As you probably are aware, that Kettering has, for all practical purposes, now been demolished. Kettering School will soon follow. I mentioned to the board in previous letters that we were told during a meeting by the school representatives that upon the demolition of those 2 properties, as well as the removal of the debris, et cetera, that the school district may be interested in conveying those properties to the township. And again, it'll be a board decision. Do you use those properties as an opportunity for infill development? Do you make it part of overall recreational plan? But again, the fact remains those 2 very dangerous vacant buildings will soon be demolished. The 3rd school in question was Kaiser School, and I was informed yesterday that Kaiser School was in fact sold by the school to Greater Faith Transition Center, and we're going to be meeting with them very, very soon to make sure that building becomes fire suppressed and make sure that its repurposing is in accordance with the township zoning requirements. There is one issue out there that continues to, all of us are keeping an eye on, and that is the 923 Ecorse Road, the former Forbes Dry Cleaners. That building has been demolished. There's a significant amount of issues concerning the soil that was contaminated on that property, which will be cleaned up and removed. And we're also, the DEQ is also keeping the township informed as to whether any of the contamination has migrated onto properties on Davis Street, and if so, that will be remediated. We're working closely with the township leadership and State Representative Ronnie Peterson and consultant Kurt Profit to try to obtain the additional $2 million that DEQ has requested for the additional remediation of what is needed over there. And again, the environmental impact upon that part of the neighborhood is very important to all of us as we go through the redevelopment of Ecorse Road and the Michigan Avenue corridor. One of the things that might not be as glamorous at times to some of the letters that you might review, but it's very strong from my standpoint, is making sure that we don't have loose ends out there. And by that I'm referring to the township does spend a lot of dollars trying to make improvements to a number of infrastructure projects. The township spent over $336,000 roughly to repave the parking lot at the Central Fire Station on Fort Boulevard. And I'm just mentioning this because in passing, when it came time for those dollars to be released, there was a crack in one of the concrete slabs. And discussion was had about, well, maybe we could, the contractor was going to use epoxy. I'm not sure what that is. I know it somehow fills in the crack. But our position was, well, if you just spent that kind of money, if you put a brand new concrete driveway in your house and there was a big crack in the slab, I think all of you would agree we'd like to have that slab removed and a new concrete slab replaced. And so that's going to be required. And again, I feel very strongly that when we spend this kind of money, even though a concrete slab with a crack in it, someone may say, what's the big deal? I think the big deal is that we spent $336,000 to get a parking lot that's crack-free. And so we continue to follow up on other contracts. Some of them are not that expensive, but at the same time, any taxpayer dollars, be the 14B district court improvements, we want to make sure before we release the dollars that we have got, in fact, what we've paid for. And finally, I will say that we did, in fact, convey the last remaining house that the township purchased from the county treasurer in 2018. We did convey 835 LeMay Avenue to Habitat this past week. This completes the acquisition of those properties that we acquire from the county at the cost of the back taxes. We sell those or convey those to Habitat for the exact amount of dollars, and they in turn invest significant dollars to put into those homes, and many times they sell those to first-time homeowners, which has had an immediate effect, a long-term effect as well as a short-term effect of stabilizing the neighborhoods. We've been told by many people in the different school districts that some of the biggest reasons why there is, or there was, and maybe there still is, a high truancy rate in the schools is because many school children, parents will actually have to move throughout the course of a school year from place to place to place. And now Habitat, in collaboration with the township, has done a great job in trying to acquire those properties, stabilize those neighborhoods, and also has had, I think, a stabilizing effect upon the children who live there. And if you saw the literature that went out by Habitat, kind of summarizing their achievements for the year, you couldn't help but appreciate seeing the faces of the young children standing next to their parents when they're getting ready to walk into the Habitat home for the first time. That gives everybody a warm feeling that you're doing right by your township residents. So again, I know this is the first meeting of the year, and I'll try not to be as lengthy in my future reports. Won't promise that, Larry. but I'll try to be as comprehensive as I can because you do have a lot of balls in the air you're trying to juggle, and we continue to try and, we don't have a deep bench, but I think we have the best people and the highest quality people from the township's building department, Office of Community Standards, fire department, township leadership, all the ones that we rely upon, ordinance department, HR, Giovanna, go on and on. So we have a great team in place, and it's a pleasure to continue to see a lot of the hard work starting to pay dividends. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Winter's legal update? Thank you. I agree with everything you say. Under new business, we have the request for a local government approval of a small winemaker license and an on-premise tasting permit for Patrick Eklund and Jeffrey Frazier to be located at 1497 Ecorse Road.
So move that we approve the request.
Support.
Just like that. That's what I was talking about.
No, you can go down there.
Okay. Hi, I'm Patrick Eklund of 1135 North Prospect. This is my,
I'm Jeff Frazier, 1325 Hall Ave.
we are Maniacal Mead Company, or the beginnings of it. So we're here to request for basically your blessing to go in front of the state and get their small winemaker permit license.
There's not a lot of information in the
Yeah.
packet, so maybe you can talk about.
About what we're doing?
Yeah.
Well, so the spot was previously a pizza place. It's kind of gone under as a pizza place a few times, so we're hoping to help to, we see the plan about Ecorse Road, and we're hoping to help to be an anchor eventually as a destination. So we'll be making mead, which is...
Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with mead, it's considered like it's a honey wine. So we essentially ferment honey, water, and yeast. And from there, you can really take it to a lot of levels. We add like fruits, multiple fruits. So it's kind of like, it's almost like a juice in a way. It's real fruity. It's kind of strong. We like it strong, like around 14% ABV. So it's small servings. But it's quite sweet is how we like it, but it can also be dry, but it's quite tasty.
Did you bring any samples? Sorry.
Not yet.
I'm just teasing.
When are they going to?
Do you have any,
So I
so
heard
are you owner? Can you talk about, usually there's an application that has a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, so I understand normally there's like a liquor license application.
Kind of, but it helps us with the information.
Oh, I see. So we are leasing the space from the landlord, obviously. So he owns the whole property, which includes the car wash on one part and then our spot on the other. We picked the spot because it has it's already licensed for food service, and food service is one of the many requirements that we have to meet in order to get open. So,
Madam Chair.
Just a minute. Larry wanted to ask a question first.
Yeah, Madam Chair. My question, I know that there was some time ago that there was, I thought there was a brewery that was trying to get in there and do the same thing that you folks are trying to do. At that time, the question was parking. And I know that it says in the paperwork that you have 4 in the spot in the front, you need 10. But I'm almost positive at the time that we talked with the brewery and everything, there just wasn't adequate parking there.
yeah, so we've gone through this with the zoning department already, and we've repainted the lines to make it clear where the parking spaces are or should be, and we do meet the requirements for the code compliance. Now, I should say that we are starting out small, and we were in compliance before we decided to be small. So I think I wrote in the application or in the memo that we'll have a small tap room with about occupancy of about 15 people. The limiting factor in that at this time for the 15 is the single bathroom on the premises. And once we get rolling and get open, we plan to eventually expand that capacity. But we'll still have actually enough parking even under that. Although with the new zoning, the parking requirements, I believe, are alleviated anyway, so that may not be as much of an issue.
The proposed zoning.
The proposal, yes, but we're covered regardless.
Yeah, there's like 4 in the front, and there's quite a few in the rear.
Quite a few, yeah. I mean, the total amount of parking spaces on the property is 28 or so.
I'm sorry, 28 parking spots?
Yeah, so part of that includes the car wash as well, because the car wash has to have some of the parking spaces.
Madam Chair, I do know that at the time the other folks were in here, that they even talked about possibly using the car wash for parking, which is not prohibited. I don't know, Mike, do you? Well, okay.
We have been through the zoning department, like I said. We went through
Yeah,
the
the
whole,
letter, she has a letter in
the
our
whole
packet.
reading of,
We
okay.
did, we're sorry for answering these questions. Normally, we'd ask a lot of questions in the work session. We just didn't have the opportunity, so.
Sure.
Trustee Rowe?
I just want to clarify, Madam Chair. I'm wondering, Larry, are you thinking of that place that they were going to do by Los Amigos on Michigan Ave? Because I know we were having a small brewery come and they presented to our board
No, this is another one.
prior to us.
It was internally discussed
Oh,
at a
okay.
development team meeting. It's the same location.
Thank you. Additionally, I was just going to say that in our packet, it talks about like the opening process and how you guys are aware that that's a common question. And then unrelated, Patrick, I went to school with your sister.
Yeah,
And I weirdly remembered that you lived on Prospect. That's strange, but
I think you guys campaigned at my house, so
I did.
So you're township resident.
That's exciting.
yes, we're both township residents.
And even if, I know that you guys have went through that, the board, but I hope that if this particular location, for whatever reason, doesn't work out, that you'll continue to search in the township for
We're pretty
opportunities.
dedicated to this location. We've gone through the building department. We've got those permits. We've got architect plans done. We have a lease signed that we've been paying on. And now that we're clear of all the departments, with the exception of this is the last hurdle really that we haven't been through. The health department I've been through with when I opened 734 Brewing Company in the city, and the state same deal, and the feds also. So I'm pretty confident in our ability to get this open with your blessing.
So you own 7342?
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's me and some partners.
I know that we discussed this internally before, and it was you now that I know. 734 was the same owner previously. We discussed it in March, and there were just a lot of questions, not that we don't support it. We just normally have like a site plan and
Yeah, so
that tells
when
us
I came here, I may have identified myself as being from 734 Brewing, but that meeting back in March was for this purpose.
correct, it was for that. And we actually have emails and stuff going
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And some of the questions, like Larry brought up, parking, and that was brought up, and it's being brought up again. So
Yes.
we need to, as one board member, not that we don't support small, new local businesses, but I think we should have a little more information, like,
So
I know it's zoning, it's allowed, I don't know if it's been inspected for that, I mean.
So
and you-
I think I noticed this when I came in March. There did seem to be sort of a lack of clarity in the township as to how a business gets started.
That could be. That could be, so we apologize
I
for
think I've
that.
sorted that out. But, so basically what it involved is, after talking to everybody that I could talk to, that I could find, we had to get through the zoning department, so Charlotte, I had many meetings with Charlotte Wilson, going over the code, and we also brought an architect in on this. So we talked about, I guess the code, basically. We looked at the requirements based on occupancy and based on intended use, and that netted a certain amount of parking spaces. And we looked at the original site plan for the, like, back when the building was constructed. And then we're just,
And maybe we just don't have that information, because her letter is just like a zoning verification.
Yeah.
That,
yeah, so
of course,
her,
it's
I've
allowed to
actually
go
seen the
there.
letter, but I assume it's to say that, to show you all that we did do our diligence and that we have done everything and that we meet all the requirements necessary. You don't think so?
It just says that, this is a letter from Charlotte Wilson, who's our planning and development coordinator, that the location on a form, which I'm not sure what form she's referring to, 1497 Ecorse, is suitable to operate this type of use, and identifies with restaurants and other places, food and beverage, and that the zoning of B3 will allow it. But it doesn't, say that I've seen your site plan, it's for 20 people, there's enough room to
15,
make a
yeah.
mead.
Yeah, so we, the township business development people, I guess, determined that a site plan wasn't required because it's not a change in use, because it has been serving as a food service establishment, and it will continue to be that. In terms of alcohol, that actually doesn't have a special provision in the code that would change the use. So
Right.
we're actually moving laterally between uses, which is why a site plan was not required. Because if you were to open a chicken restaurant there, it would be the same deal. You wouldn't require a site plan, just like you wouldn't require a pizza place to have a site plan for that.
But when we have people go for beer, wine, these kind of license, we just have more information, right? I mean, to make a,
I know that when I came in March, there was a special application for a liquor license. I think part of the questions that we're getting here is because there is not a
It's
procedure.
not a requirement.
Right, so we're not taking a liquor license, we're just getting a small winemaker license.
no, I know, we
Yeah.
have another winemaker that came to the board, and they
Yeah.
had a big, but they own the property, and they were raising wine, and actually asked for the front part of a building to be for wine tasting. So we have,
So
this
same,
is just the
same deal,
first-
basically.
yeah, this is the first time we've had the opportunity to discuss it. That's
Oh,
all
okay.
That's all and I,
So are there any questions, or?
oh, yeah, there's, yeah.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
have some questions.
Sure.
Okay, so you're looking to open up your facility, and a lot of these are going to be repetitive, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding. You're looking to open up the business as a small wine serving business that you said will serve about 20 people, or are you just looking to make wine at the location?
So the capacity, I didn't say 20, the capacity will be
Okay.
15, including employees, which there'll be up to 2 at a time.
Okay.
To start. So the capacity is 15, and then there will be room for 13 occupants, 13 customers. So it's a very small room. Basically, we'll be doing retail wine sales, and there's a small tasting counter.
I did hear 20 somewhere, so maybe
Yeah,
it was,
I think
yeah, okay,
Ms.
all right,
Sumbo
yeah,
said.
so I definitely heard 20. And then, next would be, okay, so basically it's like a wine sampling location, correct?
Yeah, basically. We will be producing for sales to local liquor stores, retailers, but it'll be wine tasting, wine sampling.
Okay, got you.
You can pick up a bottle and take it home and give it to whoever,
Okay, so if they're
over
picking,
21.
so if the patrons of this location are picking up bottles and taking it home, then most of the patrons of the location are not actually going to be staying on site, correct or no?
Well, I mean, we'll be operating like a mini bar, basically. Yeah, it's really both. The idea is, I think of it like if you walk into Bed Bath & Beyond, it's a different product, obviously, but you smell the candles, you check them out. There are some people hanging around, maybe, going through the entire supply, but a lot of people buy the candles and take them home, and they're obviously enjoying the candles at home.
Right, because the reason why I asked that question, because I know another question came up in regards to parking. So that's why I was like, okay, are most of the local patrons coming in, getting the sample wine, and then they're leaving, or are most of
It'll be a mix. I
Okay.
think we'll have big release days where we come out with a new thing, where most of the customers will just be stopping in to pick up bottles and leave. But during regular sort of bar hours, which will be open Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings to start, and maybe some Sunday afternoons. That will be a mix of retail and then people staying.
And there's enough room for?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like the architect looked at the architect looked at the plans and, well, actually the architect drew the plans and told us how much square footage was required. I mean, I'm sort of familiar with the process because I did open a brewery already.
Yeah, we're just not, we're going to get there, though.
Okay.
I promise, we're going to get there.
Madam Chair.
And it's not, I mean, I'm actually trying to make sure, and thank you for basically your candor. I'm just trying to make sure that for all the uses that you're looking to do, that obviously is able to be done at that location. That's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah, we've been through some very rigorous procedures with the building department, and we got their stamp of approval.
So you have a approved site, or approved?
Yeah, we have approved.
Yes.
We have approved architect plans. We have building permits that have been approved. We're just waiting for.
Just
Trustee
a point of
Eldridge was gonna-
clarification.
Trust-
Because I think it's causing a lot of confusion, if I might. I think you're up next. Oh, well, you're not you. Is that if they were just a business and not needing the license, they wouldn't even be here.
That is true.
The only reason they're here, I know, but I didn't know if it would, just wanted to see if it was clear to folks. The only reason they're here is because the state of Michigan requires local approval for the premise on tasting room and the winemaker's license. Because if they were just doing the candles or the perfume, they wouldn't be here.
Right.
That would all be handled by building and zoning.
Because we're, we still have all these throwbacks from the
Yeah.
Prohibition era. We have to do special
So-
things. There's a special permit to sell on Sundays. And
So point of clarification. So today, the only thing that we're doing is approving a winemaker's license. We're not approving anything else at this point.
We don't approve anything else.
Okay.
So,
We're not-
and the tasting room permit
tasting room,
is part of
both.
it, yeah.
Okay.
So let me tell you about the process, if I may. From here, we go to the state. Well, we don't go there. We mail in our paperwork. And the state has about 8 different levels that we'll go through of different application reviews, and we'll have a site inspection or 3. The feds, the TTB, whenever they are back in business, will also give us the run through. They'll have a site, we'll submit our architect plans, and they usually take about 3 months, but we expect that to be a little longer. Now, the state takes about 7 or 8 months. So I've actually got the paperwork in with them as far as we can get, but basically it's held up until we get the letter that says the Board of Trustees approves the issuance of this license for this location, and then they'll go through and review. The final inspection involves making sure that the fire inspector has signed off, the health department has signed off, all our building permits were fulfilled, I guess you would say. So this is just like the first step in getting the process moving.
Trustee Eldridge, did you have a comment?
I just had a question on your days and hours of operation.
Oh, so right now we're looking at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from about 6 to midnight for regular bar usage, and then probably some Sunday afternoon hours as well for sales.
And then just to follow up, my computer shut down and crashed, so I can't look at your paperwork. On the Planning Commission, although you don't have to come before us for this, what we ask of many businesses are, will you be putting in new lighting on the exterior and any kind of a camera system for the exterior?
Is there already a camera system? I think there is.
I don't recall.
So yeah, there's already a camera system in there. It's pretty well lit because the car wash runs 24/7 really, so.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
It doesn't close.
Treasurer Doe?
I know that we normally, we have a development team, which we normally, anytime we have a new business come in or anything, we all sit down and we look at a site plan to make sure that everything falls into place. I have not been to one of these in the last 3 months that we've seen your site plan.
Yeah.
And so I would ask that we table this so that the board, or at least myself, can see the site plan on this.
I'd like to reiterate that it was determined that we did not need a site plan because we're not a change of use. And according to the township rules, which I've read a couple times, unfortunately, a site plan is not required when there is no change of use.
Well,
So,
Madam Chair, there is a change of use. I mean, you got to sit down. You have a pizza shop there now that I don't believe was only a carryout right now. I don't believe they have a sit-down in their pizza shop.
They had tables. And change of use is defined by the code. It's not a term that, there's a definition for it, and we met that definition for not changing use.
Charlotte's recommended it, so.
Yeah, it's recommended by, and
Charlotte verified, I spoke with Charlotte to try to understand, because this is the first time we've discussed it internally and now publicly. So I was asking Charlotte, is this a recommendation? She said, this is a zoning verification that said, yes, you can go here.
right, she
So they
can't.
she didn't specifically say that parking. Now, are you going to use a car wash for parking?
No.
So you're going to use it to wash cars?
So I think there's a
I don't
misunderstanding.
have the plan, yeah.
So our landlord, that's his car wash, he runs that separately.
So okay, I thought you were going to park in the car wash, you said. Did you say that?
No, there are parking spots on the property in the car wash, which is required for the car wash. I think there's a misunderstanding in terms of,
Process, yeah.
yes, but so that, the role, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the role of the zoning person is not to recommend that a business happen, it is for them to say, yes, this is an approved use. And as far as I can tell, that is what Ms. Wilson
She
did.
verified the zoning.
That it is an
That's what she
approved use,
did.
yeah.
But we don't have information, and it's not that we don't support it, because I think it sounds very good, to do. But I think, for us to not have any more information, I bet there's a lot more information available in the application, a planning verification. Like you said, they probably already inspected it and everything,
so one
right?
of the
So there's a
reasons-
lot more information that we just don't have.
I'm not sure. I guess I should say that one of the reasons we chose this space is because it wasn't a change of use, which meant that we didn't have to go through the costly site plan thing.
Right,
So if you guys,
You don't have to do a site plan. My understanding is
that's
that
not what
you.
it sounds like right now. I'm sorry it sounds like you guys are asking me for a site plan that we were.
No, I thought you said that you've met with Charlotte several
Yeah.
times. You have approval from the building department?
Yeah.
And that so did you ever sketch anything out that says?
We have architect drawings that were approved by the building
We
department.
just haven't seen it, that's all. That's all we're saying is that we haven't seen, any of this.
What, would that change anything in your?
No, because the staff, not to me, because the staff's already approved it. Or if they have it, they have their role. But, some people want more information.
Well, maybe Karen has more information, and I'm sorry, because
I guess my big question is, what extra information would sway you one way or the other? 'Cause
Madam?
just to have a record.
Yeah,
Yes, Trey.
Madam Chair, I guess I'd go back to the brewery that was going to go there. I just want to go back that there was going to be a brewery there. And at the time, there wasn't enough parking at the time. That's why it wasn't passed in. I don't know what the difference in the seating and everything as far as what the wine tasting versus the brewery tasting. So, and I would just ask that we table this until we get the right, I would totally apologize if I'm wrong. I just want to make sure we got the correct parking and everything there.
We
Madam
walked,
Chair-
we walked
yeah.
a lot with Charlotte. We walked a lot.
And Sarah Jo.
We literally walked for, 2 hours out on our property, marked lines, and she approved everything we did, so.
So, I just want to make you aware that if you do table this, this is going to be another expense that you'll be adding to a business that's trying to get open in your township. Because it costs money to exist. It costs money to pay rent, to have an extra month of water and utilities. And if you're tabling it, which I respect, I understand that you want more information, even though the people that work for you are saying that we pass.
That's not what she said. She said its zoning is verified. She didn't
Okay, I
say
guess.
that she's met with you and she's walked the property and everything
Oh,
is
well,
good.
that's happened.
No, but we just don't have that information.
Madam Chair, is there any way we can call the question? Whether or not to vote on this? Yeah, a motion to call the question.
Support.
We have a motion and support to call the question. Rowe?
Yes.
Eldridge?
Yes.
Ross Williams?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Stumbo, no, I have more questions.
No.
Okay, so it passed to call the question.
Should we go?
Yeah, he left.
The vote was, oh, I better say that. I'm sorry. Well, did a roll call vote, so is that good enough, Lisa, for the record? Doe and Stumbo would like to discuss it more. So then we have a motion that's before the board to approve this item. So we can, did you want to try and is there a desire to table it and to get more information? Not by you and Karen,
They
okay.
just called the question, so now we got to vote. There's no more discussion.
A tabling motion will always supersede
I
it.
know, but we don't have one.
No, but it can always supersede any
You
motion.
asked the question, I don't want to table it.
Pardon me?
Just answered you.
I'm sorry?
I don't want to table it. It's not me and Karen want to not table it. I just personally don't. I want to make a decision.
So we have a motion and support to approve it. We're going to do roll call vote. Rowe?
Yes.
Eldridge?
Yes.
Ross Williams?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Stumbo votes no. For lack of information only. I support your product.
Yeah, same here, no.
So it's carried. I'm not sure what we have to do to,
Thank you.
and I'll talk to Charlotte and get more information on it.
Got it.
Sorry, the process was cumbersome, too.
The next item on
Can I
the,
just make a point of information?
no, we're on the next item. We voted. We're
No,
over.
it's not on this, it's not on that. It's just a point of information. While they're here, I just think maybe Sarah and Radzi could, this is a new business that came to town, has issues, so maybe we could figure out ways, we're always looking at being, what's that new term, being business ready? So maybe we could find out from them how we might make the process not as cumbersome. Maybe it's not possible, that's all.
And I would like to ask that we have more information in the packet so we can make an informed decision, too.
So noted, definitely will in the paper.
Item 2 is a request to approve the Ypsilanti Township Park Commission recommendation to proceed with a skate park project at the proposed location of Community Center Park and the estimated associated maintenance cost of $5,000 annually.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion support. Sarah?
How would you like me to handle this? Do you want to have questions, or would you like me to present?
There's people in the audience that's never heard about the skate parks.
Okay. So the skate park came about, Washtenaw County and Tony Hawk Foundation applied for a grant for skate park for eastern Washtenaw County. That grant, along with the Ralph C. Wilson grant, was for $250,000. The Washtenaw County Parks and Rec has matched that amount for $250,000, so it's $500,000 total. With that amount, they will be able to build a 10,000 square foot skate park. They had the skating community get together and try and decide what were the best attributes of a site. And that boiled down to the community center park over on Clark and Midway. We had meetings with Superior Township, Ypsi Township, the skaters, based on the criteria that they chose with sidewalks, access to transit, convenient shopping, bathrooms, just a lot of good attributes. This site rose to the top. We brought it before the Parks Commission. They agreed that this was a good location and made the recommendation to you. The $5,000 maintenance is an estimate based on other skate parks in the area. A lot of that is things that are already being done, trash collection and mowing of the lawn. There is one specialty item that is for this skate park. There's cupping around
the bowl that breaks. So on a fairly regular basis, I don't know if it's once a year or once every other year, that will need to be repaired. That's a part of the $5,000. Tony Hawk's Foundation, Trevor Staples, the local representation, or the local rep here, has said that they have been able to put together Friends of the Skate Park to raise the money for the maintenance, and if we wanted to pursue that, we could do that here. The Washtenaw County Parks and Rec is the one that's leading the project. They're going to be issuing the request for proposals for design and build, and oversight of the build, and then they will hand over the park to the township where we will own it and have to maintain it. A expected lifespan of a skate park is about 30 years, and at that time, we'll be responsible for taking it down. So it is expected that this is going to be a concrete structure, so very little maintenance, that shouldn't be much breaking, solid structure. Are there any questions at this time?
Do you have questions, Trustee Eldred?
Has the attorney looked at, when you say we're going to take it over, to me, the first thing I think of is liability.
Right. So there's no increased liability because this is a dangerous sport and people who participate in it know that it's dangerous. So that is how it's handled most other places. There's no increase in insurance on our rolls.
They said only if we have staff there, which I don't know why we'd have staff. I don't know if that increases our liability because we got somebody watching them. And the other issue was they just want to know if there was any like capital investment that could be, but it looks like it's probably no increase. Because we're not planning on staffing it, is my understanding.
But the action this evening is just to allow them to
It's-
proceed and then
That spot, right.
Yes.
with that area.
That we generally agree to that area.
We have not signed the contract. This is just moving the project forward. This is showing some good faith to Washtenaw County and Tony Hawk that they want to then issue the request for proposal because this is the right location. So we'll go through with that. There will be a small committee to talk about the design of it. That'll be really dictated by the expected users, and that might be BMX or rollerbladers or skaters. And there should be some outreach to the community because this is a new facility, and do they want to look at it? Do we want to, or not? Then how are they going to interact with the facility even though they might not be using it? So we're going to cover that. Just this next step is for this location. Is it a thumbs up or no, we're not interested?
Madam Chair.
Treasurer Doe.
Sarah Jo, you gave us some photos of different ones that's across the state, and 3 of them are pretty exotic, and one of them is pretty plain.
Yep. So
What can we expect? The plain one, or one is a little more exotic?
it is yet to be decided. So when I said that the request for proposal for design, and then the committee will be put together based on the users. So if the users say, yeah, we want an exotic one, that's how it'll proceed. If they say, no, we're more into technical and we want the bars and the steps, it'll be probably more the plain one. The pictures that I gave you are 4 different designers. There are apparently lots more than that. It was just a sampling of different designers and what they're capable of building. Those are all around 10,000 square feet, so about the size that we'll be putting in. And yes, I did pick the pretty ones with the mountain.
Yeah, can you get those mountains?
Yeah.
Oh, Madam Chair?
Yes.
So do they have a cost that they plan on, they'll go up to,
500,000, right?
500,000. So
500,000.
based on previous experience with design and build out, they're expecting 10,000 square feet. If things have changed, my guess is that the size of the skate park will just shrink because they're not going to go above that 500,000.
And for the 5,000 maintenance, we've discussed this, and it's really, is more, that included mowing, which we already do now.
Yes. So a couple of the costs
mow
we
last,
already
right.
incur with trash removal, bathroom upkeep, mowing. In fact, there'll be less
Less
mowing. But graffiti is something that occurs on a very regular basis on all skate parks. And
Hope it's
that would
tasteful.
cover the paint costs when it has to be recovered.
And the lip,
And the lip.
that has to be repaired.
I think it's a really small amount of concrete on
Rim? I don't know.
It's got a technical
Whatever.
name. I'm
So you don't
basketball,
split
not
your head-
skating.
Cut your head off.
I just had a
Trustee
question.
Rowe?
Do you know, like, compared to the one in the city at Prospect Park, like, how, like, for size, it's bigger than that, right?
Much bigger than.
Much bigger than that.
Yes.
'Cause that
And
one's pretty,
It's wood too, right?
it's a homemade one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
And it was discussed, why not put it there? But the skaters hand-built that, and they love it, and they
yeah.
don't want
But we don't want
it to go away. So this gives 2 locations and gives a little bit greater access to Superior Township.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I'm very excited, I can say personally, about this. I know when I was previously on the Park Commission, one of the things that was discussed was eventually, hopefully one day, getting some type of skate park. So my question is, when it comes to the design of the skate park and what it is going to look like, I'm assuming the Park Commission will have some type of say-so in
There-
that discussion?
Yes, one of the commissioners has said, I volunteer, they want to be a part of the discussion.
Okay, all right. And location-wise, at least this proposed location is actually nice also. Because it puts, if it goes through, it would put something on that side, the northern end of the town, which I think will be used by, like you said, Superior Township, and also even probably some of the city of Ypsi would drive down Clark Road to use it.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
And probably some Belleville users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is for the residents and the, or people in the audience, it's at the corner of Midway and Clark.
Correct.
So it's near, those are the ball fields that we have over there already. I was concerned about parking, but you explained that they can park there and then skate to the skate park.
Yeah.
Because it's not that far.
Right. They have wheels, they can just get on the sidewalk and go down. If
Yeah,
not, they
that's
can
it.
walk there. It's a park for recreation, so not a problem. The county parks said that will be plenty of parking, and for nights when there's softball games, there's overflow parking at our community center, so there should be plenty of parking.
And obviously, I'm not going to be on the committee because I would hurt myself on this, but I know it's a great recreational activity and sport that many, many people do, so
I think it's continuing to grow,
Yeah.
that sport.
Are there other questions or comments on this? So, Stan, just Lisa, I think, talked to the MML insurance carrier and verified that there's no additional liability, or Karen did, I'm
Actually, I have
sorry.
an email on it, yeah.
So, I mean, just to make, because we had the same question too, so I feel better knowing that. Mr. Winters, are you,
I haven't seen the email, so I don't know exactly what the content.
okay. So this authorizes it to proceed forward.
Yep, just next up, we still have to sign a contract, and that will be some negotiations, I'm sure.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No? I don't have any other questions? Any of the audience? No? All right, we have a motion and support to approve the request with the annual estimated maintenance cost of $5,000, which includes mowing too. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is number 3, is a resolution 2019-03, which is the owner's dam, hydro dam safety program.
Move to approve.
Support.
There's a motion and support to approve the hydro dam safety, which is required by FERC. It's, for those of you who didn't know, we have a awesome, very clean hydroelectrical power station on Bridge Road. So I encourage people to go do a tour if you haven't been there. It's pretty cool. And we have to do this in order to, as a compliant with FERC. So we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is the Resolution 2019-04, which is the adoption of the poverty exemption guidelines and application that we do annually.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion, Ross Williams, support Gerald Rowe to approve the poverty exemption. Any questions or comment? This is for the assessing department. We do it every year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the adoption of just to approve the 2019 Board of Review meeting dates and compensation.
So move.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Eldridge. Discussion on this? So again, this is for people who want to appeal their taxes if they think they're too high, the value of their home, not their taxes, the value of their home. This is a place to do it, and every year we do that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a request of Karen Wallen, Human Resources, to change the Assistant Director of Golf to an exempt salaried position and to increase the yearly salary from $31,065 to $37,065.
Move to approve.
Support.
There's a motion by Doe, support by Gerald Rowe. Karen? Ms. Wallen?
Good evening.
Good evening.
As Ms. Stovall said, I am requesting approval for the Assistant Director of Golf to be moved to an exempt salaried position and to increase his yearly salary. Clayton has been with us now almost a year. And one of the things that they have done over the last few months is looked at last golf season and things that could have been done better, more efficiently. And it's always going to be best to have a management employee there at the golf course. And moving Clayton to the exempt position would allow for Kurt or Clayton to be at the golf course more. This also, instead of paying Clayton overtime, we would adjust his salary. And it also allows us not to have to hire at least one person for inside pro shop and an additional person for the outside golf. So we would be saving approximately $6,800 a year and not having to have two additional seasonal employees by having Clayton available more at the golf course. Again, it's always best to have management employees there, and Clayton will also be picking up the main duties of supervising the seasonal employees there at the golf course.
Questions or comment?
Madam Chair. Karen, could you just, so he would be replacing someone that you wouldn't have to hire someone for the shop? I'm
Right,
sorry,
there's a number, seasonal employees, we have a number of them that work the pro shop. I think last year, was it 4? In addition to Clayton and Kirk. And then there's also people that they hire outside to bring the golf carts around and things. Yeah. Allowing him, they were very cautious last year with overtime, which meant that we needed to have another seasonal person there in the pro shop. If he's in a situation where we're not worrying about overtime and things like that, then we're not going to need to hire another seasonal. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more follow-up is, when I was doing it, I know that we had emailed a couple times about the cost of overtime, and that was like roughly $2,500.
Right.
But even with that, I just wasn't sure. I mean, it's more than like the 3% raise that we do for all of our union employees, so that was just my only concern.
Yeah. The big thing is, it is, but he's also taking on additional responsibility as supervising the seasonal staff. And then it also is going to be saving us money in having to hire additional seasonal staff. So overall, it's not increasing the budget to the golf course for wages. Yes.
Trustee Eldridge?
Karen, I apologize. You said you saved about $6,800 by reducing 2 people?
That's what we anticipate.
And is that how you came up with the $6,000 difference in what the employee made and what we're going to pay them?
That was a
Because
consideration.
I'm wondering how you arrived at that amount for the exempt pay,
That was a consideration.
because it's right in the area of 19% increase.
Well, we budgeted additional overtime this year because we know if this doesn't happen, Clayton is going to be there more than the 100 hours that he was there last season, which is going to cost us more in overtime.
And I apologize for not knowing this, but as a full-time or a salary, or, I'm sorry, an hourly employee this year, are we now adding benefit costs and everything else into this as well?
No, he was already
benefits?
getting all of that.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and speaking of the 19% cost, but I wanted to get a little bit more fine detail. With going into basically if there was an increase in salary, that is actually approved, that would eliminate any overtime of the employee? correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, also that would make that employee basically eligible to work up to 40 or over 40.
It'd be over 40.
Without having overtime, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then I guess my last question is, let me see, how much, okay, I think I see it. So there was 118.78 hours worth of overtime, and that would be paid at how much per hour?
Well, his hourly salary at that time was 14 and a half, so it'd be 1.5 times that,
Okay.
times the 118, which is about 25.
21.75.
Yeah, it's a little over $2,500, I think.
Okay, right, because the starting wage is, the wage was $14.50, and that's time and a half, which is half of $14.50, which is $7.25, so you're looking at. almost
725, yeah, so you're looking at,
Yeah.
21, well, $22 an
Yeah,
hour.
21, and then it was
For overtime.
118 hours worked of overtime, just with this particular position, or?
Yes, just with his position. All
Oh, okay, well, that explains everything I need to know, thank you.
right, and then, I was going to say something else, and my mind just went blank. So it must not have been that important. Any other questions? I will say why I'm here. Clayton, we've got nothing but positive reports on you, and I think he's been a great addition to the golf course, and I know Kirk greatly appreciates him as well.
And just for history purposes, the reason why he was hourly is because there was going to be a state law, correct, that says if you work over 40 hours and you make under 50,000, then you have to pay time and a half. That never was implemented.
Correct.
But at the time, that's why he was working the way he was working, and he wasn't overseeing seasonals like he's going to be doing.
Correct.
Okay.
And part of the thought process, too, for the wage increase was that, we had seasonal employees that were doing not nearly what he will be doing, making $11 and $12 an hour. So that was also one of the thoughts processes.
I think from a management standpoint, it's kind of like it used to be. There were the golf pro and the assistant golf pro managed the
Correct.
two, and they were always there when the money was
Correct.
coming in.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
We do have a motion support on that?
Already.
Motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is request of Mike Radzik, OCS Director, for authorization to seek legal action if necessary to abate the public nuisance for property located at 2259 Valley Drive in the amount of $10,000, which is budgeted. Motion, Rowe, support Gerald Rowe? Is there discussion on this? There's a memo in the packet. There are people in the audience. Okay. So this has been a vacant home since November of 2018. They've sent notices to them. They're not complying. And therefore, based on the inspection reports, it's being deemed a public. Are you all right, Don? Having a heart attack.
Neighbors,
Oh, my God. I'm like,
the neighbors have complained a lot, too.
is it just a cramp or is it your heart?
It's my leg.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Do exercise?
I didn't.
You know,
All right, and the neighbors are very concerned about it. So we have a, can we help you in any way?
Where's it at? Until I stretch it out.
Doug, I got to get you new socks. I think that's the problem.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is Resolution 2019-01, which is revising, I don't know if we need to put that here, revising the resolution.
I don't know, it's a brand-new resolution.
Well, it says revising resolution.
That's, I didn't know if we needed that as
Oh, you're saying take it.
technicality. Do we need to? Anyways, the resolution is to revise a previously approved one in order to address the deputy assessor that did not get the 3% increase on the previous one. And we now have a building director position. Dave Bellers, who is a long-time building inspector. We went through the interview process, and he accepted the position, so he is now our new building director. So an internal person was promoted, so we added that person as well as the golf operations director.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe, to approve the revised administrative and confidential employee salary resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is budget amendment number 1. Clerk Rowe.
I have a budget amendment, the first one for 2019. Move to increase. Oh, yeah. And most of this is stuff that had to be rebudgeted from last year that didn't happen. Move to increase the general fund by $549,730, and that was $535,635 for the road projects have to be rebudgeted, that because of that road shutdown construction thing didn't happen last year, and $14,095 for the bus shelter that's hopefully going to go in at South Huron River Drive and Big Pine Drive this year, to $9,481,219, and approve the line item changes in the department line item changes as outlined. A motion includes increasing the building department fund by $15,639, and that's rebudgeting the dollars for the huge scanning project for graphic sciences, which will take that to $870,196, and improve the department line item changes as outlined. We got to change that. Move to increase the law enforcement fund budget by $10,478, and that, as you know, was for the board's approval for the generation design, had to be rebudgeted to $7,674,054, and approve the department line item changes as outlined, and increase the compost fund budget by, which is the new $4,311 for PTO payout, to $569,276, and approve the department line item changes as outlined. I would so move
Support.
the budget amendment.
There's a motion by Rowe, support by Doe, to approve our first budget amendments, and we adopted our budget, and now we have to amend it for the previous projects that were not completed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is the authorization and bids. The request is for us to waive the financial policy and approve the quote from Fondrest Environmental for a replacement of the weather radio station and the radio communication equipment for the hydro station in the amount of $8,223.18, which is budgeted.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe, to approve.
Eldridge.
Eldridge, I'm sorry. All in favor, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. I'd like to add under other
Let me
business,
just read it. I got it wrote out. Want to read it?
well, should we ask them if we can add it?
Yeah, can we, oh, you're right. Gosh, I am like having a hard time tonight not being so pushy. Sorry about that.
I just
Go
want,
ahead, Brenda.
yeah, La Fuenta Restaurant, the pink building out front by Whitaker, they have a request to do a transfer from their current location to the new building, and they have asked, the state of Michigan does not require local approval to do it,
Our ordinance does.
but our ordinance does. So in order to move this forward, we would like to see if we could just transfer the license from the same owners and everything to the new location.
Don't want to hold them up, okay?
Is it okay to
All
add
right, to
it?
add it.
Okay with me.
Because if one person objects, we won't add it.
All right, a motion to transfer the ownership, they all said yeah, didn't they?
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Everybody said yeah, right?
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Motion to transfer the ownership of 2018 Class C licensed business with Sunday sales permit for La Fuente Incorporated, transfer the location from 1926 to 1930 Whitaker to 1960 Whitaker Road, Ypsilanti Township, Washtenaw County. I would so move that transfer.
Support.
There's a motion by Rowe, support by Gerald Rowe to actually have this hopefully open soon. That's what the sign said.
I just want to clarify, that's that little building in front of Kroger?
The pink one.
What about parking?
It's part of their site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, they have an approved site
Why do
plan.
they want to move?
They bought the building. It's renovated. It's beautiful.
It's larger, I understand.
Yeah, they're-
No, but, okay. It's real, like,
I know, people park there all the time. Yeah.
I park there when I go grocery shopping now.
I know that might be a little issue in the future that we're going to try to address internally with them. I agree. But they do have enough parking. It was a Baker Square previously.
Yeah.
And then they had 2 licenses, and then we did not give them the other license because it took them so long. So they have to transfer this license to this.
Yeah, we need to waive the application fee. We want to do that too. Can I add that? Because they already
Friendly
paid.
amendment?
Friendly amendment. It's $1,000, so can we waive the application fee? Is that a friendly
Sure.
amendment? All right, thank you.
I didn't actually second either.
All right. Motion support to approve? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to adjourn is.
So move.
Motion Doe.
All those in favor?
Support? Support. Support Rowe to adjourn at
At, I don't know what time it is, 8:35. It's Karen Lovejoy Rowe and Joe. We didn't vote on it. All those in favor?
All in favor?
Thank you. All right, let me.